I was halfway up the old stretch of Highway 23 when the thumb went up. A woman in a faded denim jacket, hair knotted in a messy bun, stood on the shoulder under the flicker of a dying street lamp. The sky was a bruised violet, the wind whispering through the pines that lined the road like sentinels. I'd passed that spot 3 times already, and each time she'd been there, as if she'd been rooted to the asphalt. I pulled over, the engine gurgling as it cooled. "Where are you headed?" I asked, trying to sound casual. She stared at me with eyes that seemed too wide for her face. "Just up the road, to the old Miller farm." Her voice was low, a little too slow, as if she were measuring each syllable. I glanced at the rearview mirror, then back at her. "It's a long way. You sure you're okay? It gets tricky around there after dark." She smiled, a thin, cracked line. "Don't worry about me. I've been waiting a while." She slid into the passenger seat, the door sighing shut behind her. The scent of damp earth and something metallic, like rusted blood, filled the car. I tried not to focus on it. The road stretched on in a monotone hum. We didn't speak for a few miles. The only sounds were the tires on the pavement and the occasional crack of a branch snapping under its own weight. I could feel her eyes on me, heavy, like someone judging my every move. "Do you work?" I finally asked, needing to break the silence. She turned to look out the window, the light catching her face. I was a housekeeper. I worked for a family out here. Millers. I left the house the night they disappeared." She swallowed. "I'm trying to find out what happened to them." A cold prickle ran down my spine. The Miller farm was notorious, abandoned for years after the family vanished without a trace. The police had called it a robbery gone wrong. The rumors were far darker. I felt the weight of the steering wheel tighten in my hands. "Why would you hitchhike?" I asked, the words coming out sharper than intended. She turned to me, her gaze suddenly sharp, almost predatory. "Because nobody will pick me up. Not here, not now. I need someone to take me to the house. I need to see it for myself." The car jolted as we hit a pothole. I glanced at the rearview mirror again. Only darkness behind me. Something shifted, a faint rustle, like fabric brushing against leather. I turned my head sharply, heart hammering, but saw nothing. The road cracked open suddenly, a patch of gravel spilling onto the asphalt. I swerved, the car lurching. The woman's grip on the seatbelt tightened. "Watch out," she hissed, her voice a whisper. I pulled over at the edge, the engine sputtering. The night seemed to close in, the trees forming a black wall. I turned to ask if she was okay, but the passenger seat was empty. The denim jacket lay folded on the seat, as if someone had just taken it off. I stepped out, the cold air cutting through my jacket. The road ahead was a smooth ribbon of darkness, the Miller farm a silhouette against the moon. My phone buzzed, a missed call from my own number. I fumbled for it, thumb hovering over the screen. A text message lit up. "Thank you for the ride." I stared at the words until the screen went black, the battery dead. Behind me, the silence was broken by a soft, dragging sound, as if something heavy was being pulled across the gravel, slow, deliberate, coming from the direction of the farmhouse. I didn't know if the woman was gone, or if she'd never been there at all. The road stretched ahead, unlit, and the car engine coughed one final, desperate sigh. I could feel the weight of the night pressing against the metal, and I realized I'd become the passenger now. Story 2. I was on my way back from a late shift at the plant. The highway a thin ribbon of asphalt lit only by my low-beam headlights. Rain hammered the windshield, turning every stray reflection into a ghost. I'd been alone for hours, the radio murmuring static, and the empty stretch of road made the miles melt into each other. Around the 84-mile marker, a lone figure stretched a thumb out of the rain. He wore a raincoat that clung to his thin frame, a baseball cap pulled down low over eyes I couldn't see. Something about the way he held his arm, rigid, almost rehearsed, made the hairs on my neck stand up. Still, the old habit of not leaving anyone stranded in the dark kicked in. I pulled over, rolled down the window, and asked, "Where you headed?" He didn't answer. He just nodded, his mouth moving in a whisper that the rain swallowed. I unlocked the door and gestured inside. The moment his foot hit the passenger seat, the car's interior smelled faintly of damp earth and something metallic, like blood, but I dismissed it as the wet leather of my seat. He sat still, hands clasped in his lap, eyes never leaving the road ahead. The rain drummed a relentless rhythm, and the highway seemed to stretch forever. I tried making small talk, asked about his name, where he was going. He shook his head and said, "Just need a ride." A nervous laugh escaped me. I turned the radio up, hoping the music would drown whatever tension was building. A mile later, a police cruiser flickered in my rear-view mirror, its lights a dull amber. It passed us without stopping. I felt an invisible weight settle over the passenger seat. The hitchhiker's thumb twitched, and his fingers curled around something hidden beneath his coat. My pulse thudded in my ears. We drove in silence until I heard a soft thud, like a small object hitting the floor of the car. My eyes darted to the passenger side floor mat. Underneath, a thin, wet, dark stain spread across the carpet. My mind raced. Rain? Something else? The hitchhiker's eyes flicked up, met mine, and for a fraction of a second I saw a flicker of something. Recognition? Guilt? I pulled into a narrow turnout and turned off the engine, the cabin filling with the hiss of the rain. "What's that?" I asked, my voice shaking. He didn't answer. He lifted his coat just enough to reveal a small, blood-soaked bag, the kind you'd use to carry a dead animal. Inside, something moved, a soft, shivering rustle. He opened the bag, and the smell hit me like a punch, coppery, raw. Inside lay a small, limp body, no more than a child's size, hair matted to the scalp, eyes staring blankly. My heart hammered. "Who are you?" I demanded, the words spilling out in a frantic rush. He looked at me, his expression empty, then turned his head toward the road. "I was trying to get him home," he whispered, his voice a hoarse rasp. He's my son. He died. The car. I can't get him out. I need help." The rain intensified, drumming against the metal like fingers on a tomb. I felt the urge to get out, to run, to call for help. But my hands were frozen to the steering wheel. My mind, a jumble of doubt and dread, clung to the rationale. This wasn't a ghost story. It was a man who'd lost his child and was too broken to leave him behind. I pressed the horn, a desperate, trembling blast. The sound seemed to echo into the abyss, and for a moment, I thought I heard another car's brakes screeching behind me. I turned the steering wheel sharply, intending to drive away, but the car lurched, the engine stalling as though the road itself had swallowed my momentum. The hitchhiker's hand slipped from his coat and rested on my shoulder, his grip cold, firm, an iron clasp that squeezed until my knuckles whitened. He whispered again, "You can't leave us." My vision blurred, the rain a relentless curtain. I tried to open the door. The lock wouldn't budge. The world outside was a sheet of water, the highway a black river. The last thing I saw before the lights flickered out was his eyes, empty, pleading, and terrifyingly human. When I finally awoke, the rain had stopped. The car lay on its side, mangled metal twisted like a broken spine. The passenger seat was empty, a thin smear of blood still glistening on the carpet. A police officer knelt beside the wreckage, his flashlight sweeping over the scene. He asked me, "Did you see anyone?" I opened my mouth, but the words wouldn't form. The only thing I could offer was a shuddering breath and a memory of a silent passenger, a boy forever stuck between the road and the night. The officer's eyes narrowed, and he said, "We've been looking for a missing child for weeks." I didn't answer. I just stared at the twisted metal, at the rain-slicked road that stretched infinitely ahead, wondering whether I had ever really been the driver, or whether I had been the one picked up, taken, and left to disappear with the night.